How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Mike from Santa Tips, and today we're going to be talking about some new exciting stuff that has come out in the world of Pokemon. Yesterday, a Twitter user by the name of OKP108 posted a picture on Twitter showing lots of different Pokemon from Generation 1 in their early beta forms. Now, this is really interesting because it comes from the Wild West of Pokemon days. These pictures are before Pokemon was even released to the world, back when it was known as Pocket Monsters. So I thought it would be really interesting to look at this picture with you guys and show you exactly what Pokemon were completely scrapped, what designs are different, and also look at what Pokemon designs didn't really change at all and look like the ones that we know and love today. A Reddit user whose name I'm not going to say for obvious reasons did us all a favor and translated the Pokemon's names from Japanese to English. So if there was any question about what Pokemon they were supposed to be, now we know, and also they gave us the name for the brand new Pokemon that we never saw before. Joining me for this review of beta Pokemon will be my lovely girlfriend, Mrs. PokeTips? Is that what you want me to call you? Mrs. PokeTips, everybody! So let's start from the bottom because I see a really cool Pokemon down there that I want to talk about right away called Omega. Now, Omega was a Pokemon that was cut. It did not make it into the final version at all, and I could kind of see why, although I do like the design a lot. Now, it's right next to Blastoise, and those two look so similar. They're doing like the same pose, they've got the big bodies and everything, they got the similar heads, and they've even got stuff sticking out of their back. But I think Omega was a cool looking Pokemon, but from this black and white little picture, it kind of looks robotic. It looks robotic, and it also has similarities to, obviously, Blastoise, but Tyranitar and Feraligatr that would come later in Generation 2. So I feel like this Pokemon was cut, but it was reused later on.
I think it looks like a robot.
You think it looks like a robot?
Yeah.
So, like I mentioned before, next to Omega, we have the Beta Blastoise, and this looks basically like the final version of Blastoise. I don't really see too much difference about it, and honestly, I'm not complaining, because Blastoise is an awesome-looking Pokemon, one of my favorite Generation 1 Pokemon to begin with, so I'm glad that they basically just polished up this design and went with it.
I think it looks scary.
You think it looks scary? Think it looks like a monster?
Like it's ready to battle somebody.
Ooh, it's ready to battle somebody. It's ready to use those cannons. Then if you move all the way over to the right of this picture, you'll see the beta version of Tangela, or Tangela, whatever you want to call it. But I like the final version better. This one looks too menacing to me. The eyes are glaring into my soul. It makes me feel uncomfortable.
Isn't that the point?
I don't know. It makes me feel uncomfortable and I don't like it. Staryu looks exactly the same. I don't think there's any differences between the beta Staryu and what we finally got, so they must have really liked that design. Gyarados. Oh, Gyarados, what happened to you, buddy? First off, this thing looks like a worm.
The Alaskan bullworm.
It was big! It was all wiggly! It was an Alaskan bullworm!
And I don't like worms, and I don't like that thing's mouth. So I'm glad that it got changed, because this is really freaking me out. It makes me uncomfortable. But again, it looks like a monster, and this was Pocket Monsters back then, so monsters in your pocket, I would not want to pull that out of my pocket, that's all I'm saying. Next, Arcanine. Now, Arcanine looks like somebody had a blow dryer, brought it up to the face, and started going because all of its hair is getting blown back right at it. Now, it does make sense that it has that design because, the final name for Arcanine eventually turned into Windy in Japan, so it makes sense because, Arcanine's supposed to be a fast Pokemon, the hair looks like it's getting blown back by the wind, so I understand it. And this design looks very similar to his Gen 1 design, however, later on in the future, it would get more developed into the Arcanine that we now know and love, and I think the Arcanine we have now is much better than, Windy over here. Rhyhorn just looks sad to me. It doesn't look done, it looks like it's missing too many things. I think the mouth looks kind of weird too. I'm sorry, Rhyhorn, I just don't like you.
You're so mean.
Just being honest there, I don't like it. Now, Ghastly, tell me what you think of Ghastly. I've been talking the whole time. What do you think of Ghastly?
It looks like what you see when you get up way too fast.
Like when you get up way too fast, like...
Yeah. Oh, Jesus.
Oh god, I saw Ghastly.
Did you see the eyes of Ghastly?
I saw the eyes of Ghastly. Cubone, I can't really see too well because there's a 22 and an umbrella covering it, but it looks very similar to the final version of Cubone from what I see, and it was a great design, so I'm glad they went with it.
Now, is it Cubone or Cubone, Mike?
Pincer looks basically exactly the same as it does in Generation 1. That is basically its Generation 1 sprite right there, except I think the arm is a little different. This Pincer looks like it wants to give you more of a high five. Gen 1 Pincer, you know, you moved your hand too quick, and now it's mad it doesn't want to give you a high five anymore. Scyther looks a lot like a praying mantis, and I know it's based on a praying mantis, but I think this design looks too much like a praying mantis. It has like a hunchback and everything, and I really don't like this Scyther. I like the more nimble, quick Scyther that we got in the final version. This one I'm not really too big of a fan of.
Lapras just looks like a kitty dinosaur roller coaster.
A kitty dinosaur roller coaster.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna go to an amusement park, and we're gonna see that Lapras, and we're gonna sit on that Lapras. And those spikes are gonna go like right into our butt, and we're gonna sit on that. I like the final Lapras a lot better than this one. I think just adding ears makes a world of a difference. It's so weird to me that really changes Lapras that much for me. This kind of looks more like a snake and a unicorn put together.
Tentacruel looks angry.
He does look angry. He looks really angry.
Not happy.
And finally, the last beta Pokemon is Cloyster, and it looks like the original Japanese name for Cloyster was Shelder, so it makes me wonder, was this supposed to be a Pokemon that didn't have any other evolutions related to it? Was Cloyster supposed to be, or Shelder at this point, was this supposed to be the only one in the family? Anyway, this Cloyster looks really similar to the final version of Cloyster. However, I do like this one actually a little bit better. I just like the angle that it's at, that devious little look at its face. It looks like a cocky Pokemon, and I kind of like it. Alright, so recapping, I think my favorite Pokemon from this list were the Beta Cloyster, and obviously the Beta Omega, but I can understand why Omega was cut. My least favorite would have to be Gyarados. Just, again, take a look at Gyarados.
My favorite is either Scyther or Lapras.
Do you have a least favorite?
The Alaskan Bullworm.
The Alaskan Bullworm. Hey, I guess that's why we're like good for each other. We both don't like that thing.
That's the only reason.
That's the only reason. So I would love to know what your favorite and your least favorite was. Let me know down in the comment section below. And Mrs. PokeTips, thank you very much for joining me in this video. It was great having your company here.
Oh, thank you for having me.
And my friends, I'll be seeing you in the next one.